Hello everybody and welcome back to a new video. Today I'm going to be going over how to build trees just like the one behind me. Building trees and like custom trees and organic structures in Minecraft can be really hard, so I'm just going to lay it out step by step. Step 1 is you're going to go look through the logs. Which log do you want? You could use any one of these, it doesn't matter if it's stripped or not. Personally, if I was going to use like jungle logs, I'd use the stripped version, but it's up to you. I'm going to be using oak logs for the sake of this tutorial, but you can choose any one you like. Then you need to figure out what leaves you're going to use. You could use any of these. I personally like the azalea ones the most. You could also like put in oak leaves in there, but I'm just going to be using the normal azalea leaves and the flowering azalea leaves. And then what you want to do is you want to build a tower with your oak logs or your whatever log you're choosing for how tall you want the tree to be. So my tree is going to be about that big, I think. It's going to be a pretty big tree. So once you've done this, the first thing you want to do is build up a little base. So make sure that these logs don't go up for more than like 4 blocks. Unless you've got like a really tall tree, but I don't think any more than 4 blocks is really quite realistic. And then add in some corner blocks, and where there aren't corner blocks, you may want to add in some logs like in the floor. And we'll get back to the roots later, but that just gives a solid foundation and makes the tree look a little bit more balanced. And then what you want to do is from 5 blocks up, start building out like short branches. They don't have to be short on all sides. Like here, it could like this is a pretty decent sized branch, and I think I might actually make that a long branch. But the point is that you want to make short branches and then long branches and then go back to short branches. I might actually make my tree a little bigger as well. And make sure that there's at least 2 blocks between the branches, preferably 3, just so that they are spaced out enough for you to add like leaves and stuff. But yeah, bring them out. You can bring them straight out, but I think the more ideal thing is to make them go out for 2 or 3 blocks and then go up a block and then out another 2 or 3 blocks. And what you can also do is bring them out to the side. And then these are going to be your main branches, like these 4 or however many you decide to make. I wouldn't do any more than 5. These are going to be your major branches. So you can make some branches that extend off of these to sort of fill in the rest of the tree if you want. So there we've got our branches. We've got one that's coming off at an angle, and then the rest are straight with other branches coming off of them. And that gives your tree like some shape. It's not just like a cross. And because that's not a very good shape. You can see when you look from the top that there are places like everywhere that are covered, and that's good for your main branches. Then you might even want to make your tree go up even a little bit more, and you want to start doing the small branches again. So maybe 2, maybe 1 or 2 blocks, something like that. If for like your highest branches, you probably don't need something there, but you can have it anyways. So yeah, there is your tree. You can experiment with different shapes and styles, like branches that come down, branches that go up, all those sorts of things. But for the simplicity of this, I think I'm just going to keep it fairly standard. I'm going to drop that one down because it's a long branch. But you get the point. And I might also drop that one down as well. And then if I'm in survival, I will also grab some torches and use them. But now we're going to work on the leafage. So I usually start at the top. I'll put like a torch like here, a block lower. And what I can then do is create bubbles. So the main thing that you want to do with your build is create shapes that aren't already there. You don't want to just sort of cover the branches and then be done with it, because that doesn't look the greatest, and it doesn't give the leaves volume. So create sort of like bubbles for your things, and you can hide torches in there. And by themselves, they won't look that great, but once they're part of something else, they'll end up looking great. So we're just going to add a couple of bubbles around the build to add some volume. And these bubbles don't need to be massive, but they do a lot, I think, in adding shape and volume to your build. You can also add air bubbles instead of torches, or just fill it in with leaves. Either way works. And there's another bubble. That one's more ovular, but more bubbles. And then we'll add one over here and over here, I think. And there's a bubble there. We will come back to cover the rest of that up, but that's another bubble. From this angle, it looks like a bubble as well. And then we'll just make one over here. So there we go, there's another bubble. So once you've created a decent amount of bubbles, maybe minimum of 3, maximum of like 8, it depends how big your tree is. Then you just want to go around covering almost all of the sides of your other branches, and making sure that you do the bottom as well. Just cover most of it. It doesn't need to be fully covered, but just something that looks good. So yeah, there we've got a branch covered. We'll come over here, make sure it's covered over here, something like that. And that looks fine. So you're just going to cover like every branch except for maybe like the one block where it attaches to the thing. A good way to know whether you've cleaned it up enough is that none of these bare faces should be showing. You should only be able to see like this side of the block. So here we have a fully covered tree. Now the last thing you want to do with the leaves is bring it down. See here, I've already sort of done it here because it was part of the bubble that I made, but on the branches that you just covered, start to bring it down. Start to bring it down like this, and just see the difference it makes, because it gives the leaves some sort of like gravity. Don't make them come down too far, but just enough so that they look like they have gravity. And depending on what sort of tree you're making, like if you're trying to make a willow tree, they might droop down more or less because of that. It really just depends on what sort of vibe you're going for. But I think for every tree, they can benefit from having drooping leaves. And there we go, we have all the leaves done. Now what you want to focus on is the roots, because the rest of your tree is looking great by itself, but it doesn't look very supported in the floor. You have this base, which is a good start, but what you can start to do then is bring it out like this into the floor, and just do these sorts of things. Bring it out maybe don't go any more than just 1 block out of the ground, I would say. And then what you can also do is get the blocks that have like fully covered things, so you're not seeing lots of these like rings. And you can replace some of the blocks that you've used with that, or just completely start placing them with that. And there you have some roots. And another thing that you could put in to add some detail would be some coarse dirt, or you could grab a shovel and create some path blocks. I'm not going to use the path blocks, but I'm going to create some coarse dirt, because roots generally only show up around like overturned dirt. So that's just a small detail that will make your build look a little bit more realistic. Something like that. And there you have it, a finished custom tree. This can be any size you want. You could scale it up to be bigger or smaller, but the general principles are there to make a beautiful custom tree. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you very soon for another video.